Hello again. Another day out in the park to just sip coffee and speak my mind. Thank you, Stick Hut, for being my cameraman today. So what I want to talk about today is an idea, because ideas are very powerful things. And this particular idea poses a threat and a barrier to those of us who want medical freedom, to those people who want to have access to medicine. Particularly, I want to discuss some ideas that we have in our society about people who use certain substances. Because for the most part, the ideas that we harbor on a conscious and unconscious level are put there by the prohibition culture. We have really been schooled and brainwashed to take a particular view towards particular people who use particular substances. So, in the spirit of medical freedom, I'd like to discuss these views with you, what they are, where they come from, and what they really mean. So one word that I think we would do well to eliminate from our vocabulary is junkie. Can you think about how degrading and dehumanizing this word is? I mean, we're literally calling people junk. We're saying certain people don't matter because they use certain substances. And that is just really bigoted and hateful. And really hateful, nasty things generally don't make our world a better place. That word, as much as the N-word is a word created to foment bigotry and hatred towards a group that is systematically oppressed, and people who need prohibited substances for their quality of life are a group of people who are systematically oppressed, because we live in a society that is based around decades of prohibitions. I mean, we think it's perfectly normal that life-giving medicines are only available through a prescription from a certain very privileged, very high-paid class of people. It's because we have been without our basic freedoms for so long that we don't even really know what to expect from medical freedom. For the past few decades, we know cannabis has been illegal. But we also know that this is so beneficial to so many people. People with certain health conditions, people with certain psychological conditions, people just living in the human condition. And now that the cat has come out of the bag and the cannabis prohibition cannot last forever, we have our systems scrambling for a way to continue the drug war. Just like cannabis, though, opium and opiates have been around as long as humanity has been around. We have been using these substances since our species has walked upon the earth. They are in our cells, in our mitochondria, instrumental to our evolution. Throughout the history of humanity and opiates, there have been so many uses. There are so many ways in which this chemical affects and benefits the human body. It's not just for the treatment of chronic pain. Now that's the last thing that the substance has been used for legally. And at this point we're facing a threat that it might be made unattainable even for that purpose. Opioids have been used as cough suppressant, as digestive aids, as treatment for diarrhea. We have a lot of people now who suffer from digestive disorders and chronic diarrhea who might find help from using opioids. People with depression who find help in using them. Now, these people are not going to be able to go to a doctor and get a prescription. I mean, if you've got serious chronic pain diagnoses and injuries and you can't get medicine for your injuries, do you think somebody whose depression responds to morphine is going to have a chance of getting a prescription? No, think again. I went to an event one time where a mother got on stage and she was talking about how her son died and how he had struggled with mental illness. It sounded like he had a pretty severe depression that prevented him from leaving his room and interacting with people for long periods of time. It was really debilitating. We're talking about a young man, a teenager. She described how with his mental illness he had gone to many doctors, he had been given prescriptions to treat his condition, and she said every time he got on those medicines that the doctors would give him, he got worse. In the course of giving her speech, she said, well, when he was high, he was perfectly fine. So here's somebody who's suffering from a debilitating condition. Everything their doctor is offering them is actually making them sicker, making them worse, taking away their quality of life. And then they're hanging out with their friends who have some diverted pills that they're trying out, and he tries some, or whatever form it had come in. I wasn't there for this young man's life, but the mother observed, and she didn't really realize, I don't think she realized the full implication of this as she was even saying it, which kind of boggles my mind, but that he was perfectly fine when he was high. So you have somebody who's suffering from a debilitating condition who then gets high and is able to go out and have a social life, who's able to be productive, who's able to have a break from these terrible symptoms that are making them feel horrible most of the time. At no point is there an, aha, wow, we've had a breakthrough from you. We finally found something that is going to help, that's working. Let's make sure you don't have to go out on the street and deal with unknown quantities and deal with criminally fabricated pseudo substance. Let's try to get you what you need nice and safely and help you manage and work with you. No, a doctor's not going to do that. How many people out there who are using drugs on the street, who have always used drugs on the street, are not people who have legitimate issues? I have people also who come to me and say, well, I don't know about this whole medical freedom thing. I had this relative who was an addict, and it was just horrible and everything. And it's like, I want to try to take that and break it down. What was really horrible about your relative? Oh, well, they said they were in chronic pain, but they needed this medicine, and they'd have to spend 17 hours a day going all over to try to get it. Wish they could just live without it. You know what? They'd probably wish they could too. That's the thing. I mean, if it's going to be worth this person's time, if it's going to be worth their entire paycheck, if it's going to be worth jumping through hoops all day trying to find a connection, think about it. They're getting something out of this. And I think instead of finding out that a family member is using an opiate and being all dead set against it and, hey, you can't use this, you're an addict, you're in denial, why don't we try opening up our ears and listening with compassion and asking questions like, what are you getting out of it? And actually listening if they're saying, well, it actually allows me to get out of the house and go to work, or it allows me to get out of bed and deal with my life. Maybe we shouldn't be so quick to judge and say, well, you're just a bad, horrible person for using this as a tool to live your life. I mean, if you don't need it to live your life, that's wonderful. But some people do.